Welcome to Sky Team's People First with Morag Barrett.
So, welcome to this week's episode of People First, and I'm excited to introduce you to my friend and colleague, Jason Levin, who is the author of Relationships to Infinity, The Art and Science of Keeping in Touch. And look at all the little flags I've put in the book as I went through it. So you will have guessed that Jason and I are going to be talking about a topic close to our hearts, which is the importance of professional relationships in our lives and careers. But a little bit about Jason before we get started. He's a sought-out speaker, advisor, and thought partner to organizations, professional associations, executives, and lawyers with career management and business development needs. Did you like the dramatic pause there, Jason?
Very nice.
He guides C-suite executives through career transitions, whether that's into retirement, post-retirement, or career transitions. And he has had quite a breadth of corporate experience, and now is the founder of his own business, Ready, Set, Launch, which embarked in the world back in 2011. So, Jason, a bit of a hodgepodge there introduction on your behalf, but welcome to People First.
Thank you, Morag. It's a great pleasure to be here. I appreciate you.
Well, I love the book, and I know we're going to get to that first. So I want to start with your origin story, though. So flashback, you're a wee lad in elementary school. The teacher has called you to attention. Jason, what do you want to be when you grow up? What was your answer?
Well, in elementary school, I had a problem sitting still. So first and foremost, my teacher was probably not calling me to attention. I'll never forget my fourth grade teacher actually sat on me because I got out of my chair so many times. And like the entire class was just dying laughing because I couldn't sit still.
Yeah.
In that same year in fourth grade, I found my voice. My dad had brought home some of his pens from his office. And I saw an opportunity, and because people like to write. And so I ended up selling all of the pens that my dad had brought home from the office. And one day my dad asked me, "Where are my pens?" And I said, "Dad, I sold them all." So 35 cents for one or 3 for $1. So to answer your question, I wanted to do something entrepreneurial.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what that was. I didn't think I wanted to be a pen salesman, but I liked that idea of, ooh, here's a need. People like to write and they're not getting what they need. I'm just going to, sell it to them.
I love it. I've got a picture of you as a door-to-door pen salesman now.
and it evolved. In middle school, I saw a need for Tic Tacs, and so I was selling Tic Tacs to my classmates.
Individually or in the little canisters?
So not individually in the canisters, but they come back then. They came in packs of 3. So I had a Tic Tac resale business. The most popular flavor was orange. And to many of my classmates who went through with me to high school, I am known to them as the Tic Tac man.
Oh my goodness, this is fascinating. Because in England, we had the little plastic flip-up tops. They didn't come in tubes. And I remember the double ones, you could get them with 2 different ones. I never liked the mints, really, but the orange ones, absolutely. All right, back to you then, Jason.
So in a lot of ways, it's funny. I really just enjoyed people and figuring out what they needed and delivering that to them. And then I think the biggest moment for me and what changed a lot of my own career trajectory was when I was in high school, and my father, who worked in Midtown Manhattan in the garment center, he lost his job during the recession in 1989, 1990. And that, impacted our family because, we're a classic family of the 80s. My dad went to work. My mom stayed at home. And there was no talk of networks. There were no talk of relationships back then. It was just, you went to a job and you stayed with that and you worked hard and you stayed loyal and you did it to the end. Mm-hmm. So I was a pretty wacky teenager. I wanted to understand why. Why was this happening to my dad and my family? So I started getting my hands on the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Fortune. If you and I were friends in college, Morag, I was helping you with your internship search because I cared about it so much. And the one thing that kept coming back to my earlier readings was everybody was talking about their mentors, their relationships, their network. And I wanted to understand what that meant. So I was a relationship geek even back when, because I saw what my dad didn't have, and he eventually did find another job, and he's got a great set of relationships, but he's shy, right? A lean introvert, and so for me, that was a pivotal moment. My dad's unemployment and just sparking an interest in how this all works.
Okay, well, we're going to dive into your book, Relationships to Infinity. And I know one of the things that you make clear in here, as my team and I do in You, Me, We, and in Cultivate, is introvert or extrovert, relationships still matter. And the tactics that you might choose to adopt need to be authentic to you. But the key is we need to have a process, a system. We need to make it part of our everyday action. So listen up, everybody. This is going to be a powerful conversation, and you're going to leave with some ideas and inspiration for you to rekindle and strengthen your own networks. So let's just start with the basics. Tell me about the inspiration. I mean, you talked about your dad. That's the opening story in the book here. But what prompted you to finally write the book?
So I think for me, when I started Ready, Set, Launch 11 years ago, I wanted to write a book called Relationships to Infinity. My wife has heard me talk about this magical book of Relationships to Infinity that never came to life. And initially, I wanted to write the book because we say keep in touch, this magical phrase that we don't act on. And I've always been curious why. Why do we say keep in touch when we really mean goodbye? Or why do we say keep in touch? But yeah, I'll keep in touch only if you do the work of the act of keeping in touch. So I've always been fascinated by that. And then, you fast forward to the pandemic and we go virtual and we lose connection. We lose all different types of connection where we become isolated. Even I started to feel like a wilted flower. And I said, there's something here that I need to dive into. And I said to myself, I need to write the book now. And what I started to realize in researching the book is that not only is keeping in touch an act of self-care, the need for our friendships. I'm an MBA. I was an accounting major, undergrad. I have a chapter on friendships because they are so important personally, professionally. And so bringing that to life was for me, a great deal of joy, because I think that, you think you're good at something, right? Or like you, me, and then you write a book and then you realize you know nothing.
Yes.
Because then once you dive into the social science and then the academic research, you're like, oh my Lord, there's a whole community out there that have studied this, given it names. The notions, and I think what really struck me were the notions of the strength of weak ties and the power of dormant ties.
So tell us more about that, because that phrase, weak ties, dormant ties, strong ties, etc., may be new to some of the listeners.
So I remember reading The Tipping Point in 2000. I read the book twice. It was so impactful.
Okay.
I read the book twice. And so what Gladwell talks about in his book is Mark Granovetter's research that came out in 1973. Strength of Weak Ties was a study done in the Massachusetts area where Granovetter was looking at why people found jobs. Yeah. And what he came to conclude was it's not the people that are very close to you, family and close friends, that will help you find your next opportunity. It are these weak ties, these acquaintances that you have that can help you land your next opportunity. And so maintaining those types of weak ties, your relationships, are critical to your own career, whether or not you need something. So Strong Ties and Weak Ties came out in 1973. It wasn't until 2000 Gladwell made it famous from my vantage point. And then building on that is this notion of dormant ties, the fact that you lose touch with somebody and what they can do for you. Adam Grant and Give and Take talked about the research that was done by a group of academics studying executive MBAs and saying, all right, take a business problem that you currently have and share it with people you currently know, then share it with people that you've lost touch with. And the way the study was done was a minimum of 3 years of losing touch. And when the results came back, the folks that they had lost touch with gave better insights, gave better ideas. And they're like, well, why? Why is this happening? It's like, well, people you lose touch with, they go on to have new experiences. They build new networks. They are seeing things in a completely different light. And so for me, I was like, wow, the notion that keeping in touch can make you smarter, can actually help move things forward. I was like, keeping in touch is not just a saying. Keeping in touch should be, for me, a way of living, right?
So we'll come into that. It was funny. This reminds me of a conversation I had with a previous guest, Robbie Samuels. And his point was that everybody we need to know is probably already in our network. And I think that leads directly to the dormant ties, the people we've forgotten that are in our LinkedIn network or that we met 3 years ago. And so the key here is twofold. One is maintaining the relationship, because this isn't about collecting Rolodex cards, business cards, or even LinkedIn connections. It's the quality that matters, not the quantity.
Sure.
But once I have made contact with somebody, there's a double-edged sword. There's one, how do I maintain the relationship? And the misunderstood belief that this takes a lot of time, and I talk about it in Cultivate, it doesn't. But also, how do I rekindle dormant relationships? So if I'm listening to this and thinking, well, yeah, there was that person that I worked with years ago that I enjoyed, how do I get back in touch? So which path should we take first, Jason? How do you maintain relationships? And then how do we rekindle dormant relationships?
I think that maintaining relationships also hits on the dormant piece.
Okay.
Because for me, there's a couple of foundational pieces of research in social science that actually speak to this. You and I, as human beings, we are nostalgic. We look at prior times in our lives with fondness and say, way back when, that was a great moment. You asked me.
Remember the good old days, Jason?
The good old days. Yes. Like Morag, even your intro question, Jason, talk about being a wee lad, and I perk up. Yeah. Well, I want to talk about my dad's pens because, oh my God, that was awesome. And that was my key experience.
Yeah.
And so actually channeling our nostalgia can actually be very helpful in maintaining our relationships and activating dormant relationships, where you can say, all right, here's a favorable memory that you have. Share it. Like a networking activity is actually taking a memory that you have and sharing it. The research shows it doesn't even matter what the medium is. It could be a carrier pigeon. It could be a smoke signal. So direct message, text, letter, email, all work.
Yeah.
And so actually playing off of our nostalgia is a wonderful way to activate and maintain relationships on both sides. And then the second piece, and it's part of my daily intention, and I keep these close to my, in my office, is appreciation. Mm-hmm. Thanking people for all the things that are wonderful that are in your world. So we talk about having gratitude. Some people have gratitude intentions. What if you were to marry your gratitude intention with your relationship base, right? And so, I mean, even the stamps I keep when I send thank you notes, one is to thank people, the other is to celebrate.
I love
So
the subliminal messaging that's going on there that others may not know, but you get joy every time you do it. And then the one in whatever who notices you've got balloons on your business stamps. And it's like, well, yeah.
yeah, of course. So I think that too often people misunderstand the razzmatazz that is expected from them. And that gets back to the myth around personality type, when in reality, becoming just more consistent around sharing appreciation or sharing a favorable memory
Yeah,
hits on the human need for connection.
indeed.
It is the most foundational piece. And then when you've shared that memory with them, then you've kept in touch.
There you go. It's as easy as that. It's the, if you liked Tic Tacs and have a Tic Tac memory triggered by Jason Tic Tac Levin, then send a message now to somebody. And you're going to create a chuckle, but you're going to rekindle that relationship.
Exactly. And it's one of those things where, like you're talking about, doesn't take a lot of time, doesn't take a lot of technology prowess, just a thought of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, I think the pandemic has shown to all of us that we want to be remembered, that we want to know that we have a broader set of people that we've made an impact on. And that feeds into a whole host of areas and lanes and whatnot. So
it reminds me, in our programs, we'll often ask people to think about great leaders that they've actually worked with versus famous peeps, and people they would jump at the chance to work with again. And what was it that made them special? But the punchline invariably is, then I want to get your phone out right now in this program, in this keynote, and send them either a LinkedIn message, a text, an email, a message to the universe, and to stop us when you get a reply. And I get goosebumps every time I do this exercise because it ties together everything you've been saying. It's the happy memory of Jason. I'm in this keynote. The Morags just asked me to think about best colleagues. I thought of you. It reminded me of your Tic Tac story. Hope you're having a good day. That's all it takes. You can even use me as the excuse of Morag made me do this. But invariably, the replies that come back are so powerful that then strengthen and rekindle those relationships. So I can only imagine for people that they're sitting there going, yeah, but there's a reason that we are a weak tie or a dormant tie. I've forgotten who you are, or we don't have anything in common. So how do people even start with, who should I be staying in touch with?
So when I have people look at their LinkedIn profiles or look at their resumes, the question I ask them is, who were the people that had a positive impact on you?
Mm-hmm.
High school, college, grad school, internships, first job, second job, third job. And it's often, I talk about this in the book where, there's this concept of the social fortress where we create something around us where we're like, I don't know anybody, I don't remember anybody. And it's kind of like you take that away and you go out into the universe and you look at your, very rarely do we actually audit our own careers based on the people that were important to us. And so actually in your resume, in your LinkedIn profile, experience after experience after experience are these wonderful people that have been favorable to you in some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
And so that's where I say to start is go back in time. Either you can go all the way back, or you can say, all right, today is September 7th, 2022. Let's go a year back, September 7th, 2021. Who were you interacting with? Who was doing something kind for you? Let's go 2 years back. Let's go 3 years back. Let's go 4 years back. And sure enough, half of my fun at the end of the year is to look at my calendar.
Yeah.
I get a chance. And the way, this is an annual activity I do. I look at the meetings that I've had. I look at the people that I've interacted with. And I say, wait a minute, who are the ones that went out of their way for me, kind to me, joyful to me, put a smile on my face? That's how you begin to think about the people in your world that you want to maintain those relationships with.
Now that triggered another thought, because you're there positioning it. Look at the calendars. Who's made a difference for me? Who's brought a smile to my face? My challenge, and it comes out in you, me, we then, is then to do the reciprocal. is to think about the people for whom you have brought a smile to their face that may or may not be thinking about you right now. And again, it's the two-way, and it goes back to Adam Grant and the give and take. It's how can you be that person, the go-to person in someone else's network? And that's what you're also doing in nurturing the connections and relationships to infinity, which is what we're talking about today. So as you do, go on, sorry.
No, you showed the cover of the book, and one of the reasons why the infinity symbol is not fully closed is that the work is never done. For me, the work is never, ever done. And so that's the fun part, is that, we brush our teeth every day, and we, hopefully, we wash our hands, often multiple times a day, hopefully. How can we integrate these types of activities on a daily basis? And, with that same amount of time that it takes to brush your teeth, the same amount of time it takes to wash your hands, to send out a favorable memory or appreciate somebody.
So 2 minutes in theory is what that's how long those activities take. So what are some tactics that you adopt as daily habits then that others might choose to adjust or adopt themselves?
So I have a thanking intention after my kids go to school. I set myself up to make sure that I've thanked somebody in my world. And actually, I know who I'm going to thank today, because I just got a great opportunity to speak at a conference. My co-panelist is someone that I had gotten an introduction from someone I knew from business school from 15 years ago. So she's getting a thank you text today. The second piece is I think that people misunderstand LinkedIn or misuse LinkedIn. And so, LinkedIn started in the summer of 2003. I joined LinkedIn in January of 2004. And the My Network section of LinkedIn is a great way to sort and resort the people that are already in your relationship base. First name, last name, where they worked, alumni of, and one of my favorites is where they live. So, if you have a business trip coming up, you can actually do a location sort on LinkedIn, find out where those people are. So I think a daily thanking intention and spending a little bit more time in my network to actually look at where the people that you worked with are now, and to be able to identify and connect with them. So
in You, Me, we talk about look up, show up, step up. And again, you're triggering all of these thoughts. The look up is take a moment to pause and think about who's in your network and do that LinkedIn search. Show up then is who do you want to have the time to meet with? How are you going to do it? And then step up, just do it. Because nobody is going to say, I was reading an article recently that those dormant connections, invariably people are so pleased to hear from us out of the blue. But we talk ourselves out often of sending that message because we'll think, oh, well, Jason will think I'm daft. It's been 10 years. He won't want to hear from me. He hasn't called me. I'm not going to do it. What are your thoughts?
It's exactly it. It's that I saw that research and I saw that article in the New York Times where this is a year after the book has been out, that there's new research showing people underestimate the favorable impact it has on sharing a favorable memory, to the point where the highest impact is actually the dormant tie piece. It's stunning. It's actually stunning. If you share a favorable memory, it has a 2x or 3x or 4x impact than what you think it actually has.
And there's no downside, is there? Because, okay, I send the favorable memory, and even if nobody replies, I've put good juju out into the world. So you know what? I'm about to do a challenge. I double dog dare, I triple dog dare everybody watching this episode and listening, whoever popped into your mind, either as a best colleague or a dormant tie or a colleague you worked with a year ago, send them a message, a memory message right now that says, hey, I was listening to People First, to Jason Levin and Morag Barrett talk about networking, and I thought of you. How you doing? Do you like Tic Tacs? That's a bonus extra. But put it in the comments, share on the LinkedIn post here. Let us know what the impact is, but do it. You won't regret it. Jason.
And that's connection. That's connecting. in its most classic foundational sense.
Okay. So as we come to the end of our time together, how can people learn more? Obviously, get your hands on the book. It really is. It's a quick read, but it's a powerful read, hence the flags that I have in it. But where can people learn more about you, your coaching, the work that you're doing, and your speaking?
So thank you, Morag. You can go to my website, readysetlaunch.net. Send me a note through my website. You can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. So all the usual sorts of places that one can find someone. And I wouldn't be writing a book about keeping in touch if I promise that if you reach out, I'll respond. So.
And I will add to that, just connect with me on LinkedIn. I promise it's me that responds. But relationships, networking, it's not a nice to do. It is critical to our health. It is critical to our success in business and life. So Jason, thank you for spending time with me today on People First.
Thank you, Morag. Great to be here.
Thank you so much for joining Morag today. If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe so you don't miss a thing. If you learned something worth sharing, share it. Cultivate your relationships today when you don't need anything before you need something. Be sure to follow Sky Team and Morag on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you have any ideas about topics we should tackle, interviews we should do, or if you yourself would like to be on the show, drop us a line at info@skyeteam.com. That's SKYE team.com. Thanks again for joining us today, and remember, business is personal and relationships matter. We are your allies.